Hi, this is Adrian Ficcioni from AxSys Performance, and this is another video from our AxSys Analytics Dashboard series, with today's focus on our metrics table and how to modify speed zones. So when you first load a session, as I've done here, the metrics table will be displayed for all of your players. So in this example, we have 4 players and all of their metrics are actually highlighted here. So starting from the left-hand side, the metrics displayed are firstly time. That's done in hours, minutes and seconds. The total distance covered during the session, which is in meters. We then have, in this case, 4 zones, and these are our speed zones. And so we're basically breaking the session down into different components. Now in this case, we have walking, which we've set at 2 to 6 kilometers an hour. We have jogging, which is above 6 to 12 kilometers an hour. Running above 12 to 18 kilometers an hour. And then sprinting is really over 18 kilometers an hour. Then we display the maximum speed achieved at any stage throughout the session. We then have a total count of the number of accelerations that were achieved above 2.5 meters per second squared, the number of decelerations that were greater in terms of decelerating, more than 2.5 meters per second squared, the total number of impacts above 8G. The reason why we select 8G is that 8G seems to be indicative of sort of acute muscle damage from impacts. And so therefore that total count is quite important in terms of looking at recovery post-training or game. We then have SLR, which is our sport load rating. And if that's activated within the platform, that will generate a number that indicates how well your athlete is training over time. We then have a proprietary score called body load, and that's the sum of all accelerations, decelerations, impacts, landing and tackles. And typically scores are below 100, and 100 typically being a full contact game. And then the last metric, again, if it's been input either by the player when uploading the data or by the coach when they're putting the data in a team session, is rate of perceived exertion, or just how hard the athlete felt the session was. Let's say you are working with athletes that require a modification to the speed zones you currently have, such as working with younger athletes or female athletes. The following steps can be followed to update or add new speed zones. So firstly, click the drop-down menu on the right-hand side. Then click on the speed zone button. Select Customize Zones. And at this point, there'll either be zones in there that you've previously set up, or you can add a new zone. Now in this case, we're going to modify the current test zone. So go to the right-hand side and click Edit. And now we are in the screen where we can modify each of the aspects of the zones. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by increasing walking to 8 kilometers an hour. Then we're going to have jogging, we're going to say to 15. Then running is going to be to 22, and that will then now be represented with our test zone when we've actually updated it. So then click Update, and you'll receive a notification that it has been successfully updated. Click OK. Now at this point you have to click the back button on the browser 3 times to get back to your session. And I'm just clicking on an OK for a notification saying that the session has been updated. Now what you need to do is you now need to go back to the speed zones, click on speed zone, go to the drop down and select the test zone, and then click apply. Now a couple of notifications will occur. First is that you've made changes, so you say yes. And what will happen now is indicated by the blanked out or grey buttons, the site is now processing the changes that you've made. These have been changed, click OK. And now what you do is you hit refresh on the browser. And if you now have a look at the zones, you'll see that they have changed as we've just made those modifications to test zone. So 1 to 8, 8 to 15, 15 to 22 and 22 to 40.